So this is the problem when you mix like social things going
I
on
understand,
with a woodworking
but
show.
I know our audience is out there listening.
It's just a tough time right now. It's a difficult time. Let's get into some other things here.
We can all help.
Well, one thing I wanted to do is try to make it a little bit easier for folks who are at home. Maybe you have some extra time on your hands, maybe that you didn't anticipate. I've got a couple of books I want you guys to be aware of. We have Hybrid Woodworking is my older book. Essential Joinery is the newer book. This is all at the woodwhispererguild.com/store. And I put the bundle on sale 20% off. So if you want to get both of these books together, I've reduced the price temporarily. So you can get both of these. They're both signed as well. We do also have a hardcover edition. But the individual books are not discounted. Only this bundle. So what is it again? The woodwhispererguild.com/store. If you need a little bit of reading.
Yes.
And I tell you what, my mom is quarantined back in New Jersey.
Yeah.
Sitting there with a pile of books. She's just sitting at her computer with stacks of books
around
her and needs something
keep
to
her
do.
busy.
So
it's been a hard week.
It's been a tough
everybody.
week for the Spags this week. And again, I'm going to delay the conversation a little bit about woodworking and just say one thing about my stepdad, Arlie. Passed away this past week, and also my stepsister, his daughter.
2 days later.
Both of them passed away in the same week, and I guess if there's any silver lining is the fact that neither one of them had to be aware of the other's situation, the way things went down. So you may remember Arlie from early Wood Whisperer stuff.
Yeah, we have a video of him doing packing.
We got quite a few videos where he may have popped up. He cleaned my shop for me for years. But his health was just in jeopardy for a while now, and unfortunately he succumbed to it, and that happened this week. So that's been really, really rough on the entire family.
Tensions are high.
I mean, everything is tensions are high. So if my emotion and my response to Dr. Denier, if that was too much, I apologize, Dr. Denier. But we will go on with the show, shall
we will go on with the show. We actually, I've been, speaking of woodworking, so pretty much all the schools are homeschooling now. And I've been talking to a lot of shop teachers looking to do online woodworking for their students. So if you're a shop teacher and you're like, what do I do?
Yeah.
Contact me, because we have this thing called the Guild. And it's online woodworking, so you might be able to integrate that into your lesson plan, as well as the 400 free videos on the site.
Sure.
So there's ways that you can. I had one shop teacher email us, and he had his students watch your new cutting board video.
Oh, good.
And then he asked them a bunch of questions like, "What did you like about the project?"
Yeah.
And there were.
I didn't like his soul patch. With the come up?
No, not the old cutting board. I'm talking about the new cutting, the three-legged cutting board.
We've really caused the problem here with the chat.
That's fine.
What a day! What a good show!
I knew this was going to be.
Didn't I start the show by saying we're here to cheer people up?
I know.
We also want to say that
it's been a train wreck of a week.
We are going to try from here on out, at least for the while we're all going through this, we're going to try to do 2 shows a week. Probably a Tuesday and a Friday if we could pull it off. Just to
you might have heard daily from an email that I sent out.
I may have said that word. I didn't mean that word. I mean, the other thing is if we did daily, we would just kind of get sick of it sooner.
Yeah.
I want this is clearly something we're going to be going through for a while. So you may see another show. You may see another show on Tuesday. Next week. So let's get to Larry's question here. He says, I recently used SketchUp for the first time to replicate a drawing of a piece of furniture that I typically draw in 2D on AutoCAD. After completing the drawing, I wanted to print individual parts, but couldn't find any instructions online on how to print individual components. I'm questioning the value of SketchUp. If you cannot print the various parts, are you aware of this? Am I just missing something? Okay, I'm not Mr. SketchUp guy. I know quite a bit about it, but not a ton. So in SketchUp, generally speaking, when you want to look at individual parts, you take your model and you break those parts out into different scenes. And you could put that, if you happen to have access to their layout program, if you break it out into scenes, you could just crack open layout if you know how to use it, and then all your parts will be there. But as far as I understand it, there is no simple one-button press that gives you all of your parts in some kind of a layout view. You have to actually physically separate the parts and make these scenes. And sometimes you make copies of your parts to show. I mean, that's what I do when I make plans. I take that rail from a table, I bust it out on its own, and then I, dimension it from there. So it may be more of a manual process, but it certainly is possible to do it. If anyone in the chat room knows a better answer to this or is more familiar with SketchUp and knows of some more automatic way to bust out all of your components and break them out into a simpler view for printing, let me know. But I don't know that you can do that. If you don't have layout, the other thing is you're going to have to take those views and then export drawings or 2D versions of these things, or like I do a lot of times, I just do a screen cap using a shortcut on my computer and take that image and then put that into a PDF, or you could then print it. So if anyone has a better answer, please put that in the chat room.
Scotty, 1121, when using gauges for setting up cuts, do you have to be careful not to damage the blade? Should I worry about steel gauges? Aluminum and brass seems like it shouldn't cause any issue.
No, the aluminum and brass are softer than your carbide teeth and a lot of other cutting tools. I don't really try to hit these things together. I don't want to cause any problems, but if you have something that's a setup gauge and it touches a tooth, it's not the end of the world. So avoid it, but I don't think it's going to do any damage if it's like an incidental contact sort of thing. Tony Tang!
Tony!
Wait a second. Yeah, there he is. Tony's got two questions. I'm debating whether to use pegboard, wall control panels. He says France cleats.
France?
French cleats.
Oh, French.
But he typed it as France cleats. It just looks funny. Or just screwing a piece of plywood to the wall for organization. Don't have a high budget since I just bought a saw stop. I'm not planning on hanging anything super heavy, mainly just some hand tools and small stuff. Okay, I love wall control. Wall control looks cool. I've got it in my shop. I actually took some of the panels. We use them in the pantry. It's great, but it's also pricey. If what you're looking for is a cost-effective solution for pegboard, then buy pegboard and make your own. It's so easy to do. You just make a simple frame out of some, 3/4 inch stock and put the pegboard on top of it. You just got to create that gap for the little peg things to be able to go into, and then hang that to the wall. And now you can get like a 4x8 area done for, I don't know how much it costs, but it's going to be pretty darn cheap. Trying to make that level of coverage with something like wall control or even our friends over at System X Storage, you could go broke doing that. It looks good, but it's really expensive. So I would just say go for old school pegboard. Now, if you want something that actually does support weight, I know you said you aren't doing anything really heavy, you could go for something like the plywood or like I have this stuff, the T111 on the walls. To me, that's the most versatile because I could screw anything I want to the wall anywhere I want. Anything from heavy cabinetry, heavy tools, to very light stuff. And it looks kind of cool too. So that's another option, but it's a very different option. If you like pegboard, because I still have pegboard in my shop, it's super useful. Do a combination. Make your own pegboard solution, make little pegboard panels that you can kind of put up in different places, combine that with something like this or standard plywood on the wall, and you kind of have the best of both worlds with that without spending a lot of money.
Hey, Jason wants to know how you attach this Google Home. Is it just tape?
No, the Google Homes have undergone a change probably around Christmas time. They announced, I can't remember, it's Google and Nest in their terminology, they got their heads up their butts. It's crazy. But it's the new Nest Google Home or something like that. It's a new version that actually has a keyhole in the back. So you want that version. It's the older, so if you're looking at the pricing scheme, it's gonna be the one that's not like $4 for $1. When you see them, like you get a bunch of them for cheap, that's usually the older version. So just look around. And I think it has to have Google Home Nest in it or something. Again, chat room if you guys know more than I do. But it is definitely a Google nested product.
Nested.
A Google Nest Home or some terminology, I don't know.
Jim Ashley just did a super chat and said, for any fabric and sewing supplies needed. Thank you, Jim.
Yeah.
We got a few
How's
other...
the temperature of the chat? Did I piss a bunch of people off?
It's all right.
It's a tough time.
It's a time to be pissed.
It is a tough time. Okay, let me do the second part of Tony's question. He says, also, I'm building a cat bed. Knowing my cat, he's going to chew on it. So what finish should I use? I'm probably going to use maple or cherry or some light-colored hardwood. Let's see. I would just use something that, is safe. Ultimately, this is the same question we think about when we make furniture for kids, or baby furniture that they are going to gnaw on. Shellac is a solution if you want a film finish that's generally universally considered to be safe to chew on, but you can also go with your Yeah, you can go with your pure oils, linseed oil, not boiled linseed oil necessarily, although that probably isn't that big of a deal, but just polymerized linseed oil, polymerized tongue oil, these things that don't have any chemicals in them to begin with. Technically, you could drink them and you just get bad diarrhea. I wouldn't recommend that. That's no fun for anybody.
Every time you say polymerize, I think pulverized.
Pulverized oil? Yeah,
pulverized.
It's kind of the opposite of pulverizing. And then you've got some of these hard wax oil finishes that are out there that tend to be safe once they're cured. So think about those things. But go simple, I think, if you're talking about, if you know a creature or human will be chewing on something, keep it simple.
Dougie has been chewing on my cooler in there.
Oh, yeah?
And so I need to move the cooler. He goes...
That's what he does.
Bill, thank you so much for the super chat as well. He said, for my fabric fund.
Oh, nice.
I'm going to be sewing. Sewing.
Yeah, it's good, though. You got a lot of material. We got to go through
I have a lot of material.
Okay. Who do we have next? James Woodward. It's great. It's fun when people have, like, woodworking friendly names, right? James Woodward. You're not listening.
What?
You guys want to know something that happens? Maybe your significant other is like this, and it's personality driven. There's so many times where I'll walk into the room.
You the same way with
I
you
say
sometimes.
something. No. Shh. Let me finish. I say something to Nicole, and it's always this. It's a very specific look where she's just delayed. She's about a half second behind the rest of the world. She looks up from her laptop and she's like,
"What?" Yeah.
And I go,
I'm processing it.
Yeah,
I'm trying to remember what you just said.
You're like on a tape delay.
Because I'm reading the chat.
I'm like, I know she's not actually hearing me right now. Should I totally repeat it or wait for her to catch up? Wait for her brain to catch up. That's what just happened. Okay, James Woodward says, a few years ago, I applied tongue oil as the finish on my tabletop for my desk. It's got a few things I want to fix now. I'm planning on picking up a drum sander later this year. The finish feels really thin. Can I just put it through the drum sander, or do I need something else first? Okay, so if you use the tongue oil finish, I think it's the same answer either way. It should be fine. Put it through the drum sander. But when you say tongue oil finish, depending on the product and the brand, that could be anything from a true tongue oil finish to something that's actually an oil varnish blend or just a wiping varnish, right? So we don't really know until you tell me what the brand is. Either way, at this point, it should be fully cured. You should have no problem just sending that through the drum sander. I mean, sometimes if you have a oil finish that hasn't quite cured and you send that through the drum sander, you're gonna have a mess on your hands because it gets all gummed up. Then you start to get heat points, and those heat points turn into like little black marks on the drum, and then you are grinding that black mark into the surface, so it can be very dangerous in that sense in terms of destroying a finished top. But in your case, I think you're gonna be fine.
You'll be okay.
You'll be okay.
You'll be
all
fine.
Right. Don't worry.
It's all right. I got a question here from Ben Davis. Wanting to align the planer and jointer and just watch your video. Is the one-way tool still your favorite, and can it be used for anything else or just the jointer?
The one-way tool, it's a dial indicator on a very heavy cast iron square base. So there are a lot of uses for it. It just depends on how much you want to use it.
Is it just called the one-way tool?
One-way gauge, I think.
One-way tool, gauge?
No, I said the word gauge.
Oh.
But you typed tool anyway.
I know I did.
The one-way
I don't listen
gauge?
to you.
I know you don't.
There it is.
Try gauge.
Gauge. Is it the, that one?
Yep.
Oh.
The multi-gauge.
So it's $95.
We use this. So here's a funny thing. Speaking of all the current events, we had started the CNC build with Adam, and we decided it was a bad idea for him to be here, and we had some challenges. Mm-hmm. So one of the things we did, and we did get some of the stuff recorded already, was setting up a CNC. And he's like, do you have a dial indicator? And I go, well, I got this. And it actually worked really well. So in calibrating the CNC, you got to make sure it's moving, per, I forget what it is, whatever the stepper motor is set for, that it's actually moving that amount. So it was so cool to see just these little boop, 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 these little tiny movements, and we had the multi-gauge up on its, I guess on its back or its side, and having it move and watching, does it actually move 10,000ths each time, and then forward and back. So we were using it for that kind of calibration as well. So I think if you have it on hand, you're going to find uses for it. What else we got here?
We got more questions. I know that.
Kent Johnson. I'll be getting a saw stop table saw. What are the advantages, disadvantages of going from a 30-inch standard fence to the 36 T-Glide or the 52 T-Glide? Okay, so I had to look this up real quick because I wasn't sure what T-Glide was. T-Glide is what Saw Stop apparently calls their Biesemeyer style fences because I guess they want to give it a new name, or maybe it has some slight difference.
T-Glide.
But it is a T-square style fence that rides on a rail, but it's also called Biesemeyer style, so it's essentially the same thing. So you're saying, what is the difference between that and a standard fence? The problem is I don't know what a standard fence is. If you're talking about every other table saw in the market that doesn't have a Biesemeyer style fence, there is no standard. A lot of times you find they have weird proprietary ways of making their fences work. And how much of an advantage or disadvantage is a Biesemeyer style over those other styles? It's all advantages. I can't tell you of a single disadvantage. There might be some other ones that, I don't know, maybe it locks in the back as well as the front or something, but if you need that, it's because something else isn't as sturdy as it should be, with the exception of the Incra fence. So in this case, I would say there are nothing but advantages to going with the T-square T-Glide or Biesemeyer style fence over any other, contractor or portable table saw type fence that you might confront. Mm-hmm. All right.
Word.
I'm knocking these down quickly.
Good.
Mike Davies says, let's have a little levity in these dark days. What are a few of your favorite messing with people on the internet moments? Well, the one that just happened about 15 minutes ago, that might be one of my favorites now. I was just thinking last night for some reason about the time that you asked people what color you should paint walnut just to see their heads explode. I think I had another one like last night, this morning, when I posted something about the CNC.
Yeah.
You want to set a few people off? Have a traditional woodworker post a picture of something on a CNC.
Yeah.
And suddenly people's heads explode. It's a fun thing to watch.
What are you doing?
We try not to do that too often. Because here's the thing. There's a lot that's lost in translation.
Yeah.
When I say something, it could be misunderstood. And then when someone says something back, I might misunderstand their response.
Especially if there's no winky.
There's no interaction.
Yeah, you can't see facial expressions.
And when you guys, and same thing happens here, right?
In the
same
chat,
thing as in comments. You have a limited number of characters. You can't necessarily, without doing, the little emoji, it's hard to say, oh, I'm being sarcastic. So it's easy to understand each other.
So.
And tempers can flare.
Can I talk about the guy that responded to the coupon we sent out?
No.
Ah.
No.
I actually talked to him.
That's fine.
But
I don't want any more drama.
But what I want to say
we've created enough drama.
But what I'm saying is, he had a harsh response, and I reached out to him because he didn't seem like he was okay.
Yeah.
Like, I am trying to see past the mean reply to say, "Are you okay? Can I help you?" kind of stuff. So
okay.
That's all I'm saying.
Yeah,
give everybody give yourself some space.
Worth effort says something on one of my previous things about the fence. So I guess the standard must be, again, we're talking Saw Stop's line. Mm-hmm. So maybe they have a standard fence. So he says, I have standard. The T is taller and wider, and the locking bar is wider, so theoretically it's easier to adjust. In real life, I found it perfectly solid and accurate. So what I didn't understand about that is this is a Saw Stop specific question. I didn't get that. I thought when he said standard, he's talking about the saws he's come from, the other saws on the market. So thanks for that clarification.
You might want to preview those.
Listen, woman, I watched a video called the Saw Stop T-Glide Fence.
Oh, gotcha.
I didn't watch a video that was like showing me their entire product line.
Gotcha.
Someone said crubber. Never say crubber.
What's crubber?
It's a word that Benchcrafted invented for rubberized cork.
Oh.
So they call it crubber.
Crubber.
And I despise the word.
It
sticks in my craw like a piece of crubber.
Crubber. We had a ton of super chats come in, and I need to thank everybody. So Fred Anton, is it Anton? A-N-T-O? Anto. Fred, for the Spag family. Sorry for your loss. Thank you, Fred.
Thank you.
I really
appreciate that.
Mike Deemers, thanks for the guild discount. I got 3 more projects. That's awesome. That's why we did it, and we want to give people a chance to just veg in front of it, woodworking content.
Get something productive done.
Yeah.
Like learning something, ideally.
OJ just said a little heart. It's not like you, OJ, to not say more than an emoji.
Tell us more, OJ.
Thank
you, though. Scott M. says, my daughter, 4, loves watching you with me. She's constantly asking me to watch Mark build something, and particularly likes the media credenza, the kid sled, and the bunk bed projects. That's awesome. Now to the actual question. I love to use Purple Heart in various ways, and she, Rebecca, really wanted me to ask, why aren't you using Purple Heart more often? I figured I can answer this like I'm talking to Rebecca specifically.
Yeah,
so, Rebecca, do you know how sometimes you want chocolate, and you want lots of chocolate?
Lots of chocolate.
Right? And mom and dad usually tell you that you shouldn't have that much chocolate, right? Because you can get a tummy ache. And have you ever, maybe on Halloween or Easter, had so much chocolate that your tummy starts to hurt and you don't feel good anymore? That's what happens in the world of woodworking when you use Purple Heart too much.
Well, you're not supposed to eat Purple Heart.
No, we're drawing an analogy.
I know what you're doing. I know.
Work with me here.
Okay.
Rebecca's watching.
Okay.
Make sure she understands this. So sometimes if I use too much Purple Heart, it gives me a bellyache. But instead of a bellyache, it's a brain ache and an eye ache. Because too much of a good thing can be bad.
Yeah.
So that's why, just my opinion, I don't use too much Purple Heart, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
But if your dad likes Purple Heart,
and
Purple Heart, and you like Purple Heart, you go ahead and use all the Purple Heart you want.
Yep.
It's perfectly fine. Just don't eat it, like Nicole said.
Yeah, don't eat it. Don't chew on it. Oh, that was a cute question.
Yeah, I like that one. Lucas Renardi, what kind of working time can I expect from Total Boat High Performance Epoxy? I'm very new to it. I made a 3-pump batch for gluing 8 drawer boxes together, about 15 to 20 minutes, and it became way too tacky in the cup to be usable. Do I need to make 3-pump batches as needed? Well, I find that the deeper, like when you're using the pumps and making small batches, the deeper it is, sometimes the heat kind of builds up quickly. So there are times where I'll get the epoxy after it's been mixed onto my project. The parts can still slip and slide around, but my cup has started to kick already. And I think it's kind of the self-propagating extra heat sort of thing as it builds. That reaction is kicking off. It just happens faster when there's more material in the cup, right? So I think the bigger it is, the longer it's sitting there, the more chance you have of minimizing your time. So maybe breaking it up can help, but I'm just going to give you the... Okay. I'm going to give you the times they recommend directly from Total Boat, and you should be able to get pretty close to this. So at 77 degrees, the pot life is 13 minutes on the fast hardener. You didn't say which hardener you have. The slow hardener is about 20 to 25 minutes. That's what I have. So again, it depends on which one you've got. It sounds like maybe you have the fast hardener. Keep in mind, if temperatures are warmer, you can have these things happen faster. That's why it's always a range, and they also give you a temperature. If the temperature is cooler, it may take a little bit longer for it to happen. Generally, when you're doing furniture projects, I don't see any real need to have the fast hardener. Most of the time, for epoxy to fully cure and do its thing, it's going to take a while anyway, and I want as much working time as possible. So for me, most of the time, I'm only going to use slow hardener just to get the most out of it. And you still got to give it a lot of time to firm up and seize up in those joints anyways. So hopefully that answers your question. Excuse me. Okay, Jake M says, I'm looking for help milling with a milling strategy to stack the cards in my favor for the Rubo build. That's the workbench that I have here. What is your preferred milling order, including any pauses to let the wood rest to assess any additional movement? Lastly, is a track saw a decent choice for making some initial rips into more manageable pieces? All right, there's a lot we could unpack with this question. I'm going to keep it simple. The Rubo build should give you an idea of workflow, like what you should be doing in what order. So definitely review that. When I'm building something like a workbench top, I think it depends on how much time you have, right? So if you can move quickly and you can get all of those individual boards fully milled, jointed, planed, and glued together, do it. Just keep going. There's really no reason to put delays in there unless you know you're going to have to stop. What I wouldn't want to do is, let's say, mill all of my boards. And when you're doing a workbench, that's a lot of boards to get the width or the depth to the workbench. What I would not do is mill all those boards and then let them sit there for 5 days until I have time to work on it again next weekend. Try to keep the time between the final milling and the gluing together as short as possible. So you might, let's say the milling is going to take a long time, you could do a partial mill on your boards, just kind of get them cleaned up on all 4 faces, get them thinned down a little bit, like they may not be perfect, but you've milled them a little bit. And then let's say it's Sunday and you got to go to work the next day, though really no one's going to work now, right? Very few people are going to work. So you may have to wait 5 days before you can get to it again next weekend. So that may be the strategy. Just mill a little bit. Don't go all the way down to your final dimension. So that next weekend, when you have time to get back to it, you can go to final dimension and then immediately glue up from there. That's how I would do it.
Sorry, I just had to check on the kids.
No, it's fine.
And refill my coffee.
They're suspiciously quiet, and that's usually a sign of problems.
When I dropped the mic, I think it made it louder.
Drop the mic, Nicole.
Yeah, right as Nicole blasts us for about 10 seconds. I'm sorry.
Corey says, what are you guys doing with the guild and projects during this tough time? Oh, what you are doing with the guild during this tough time is great. Really appreciate the community you're building and supporting. We're trying. Except for this morning. We're just
I feel like,
people.
So I posted on my Instagram a funny, the COVID-19 schedule for moms and with the kids at home. I swear I feel like I wake up and it's like boom, 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 boom. And then it's 8:30. I'm like, I have not done any work. I have hundreds of emails that I need to reply to.
Yeah.
So it's just, maybe you're feeling, and it's okay. It's okay. So we're here to commiserate with each other.
Okay, 2 quick questions. Any follow-up thoughts on the CT Cyclone? Still using it? CT Cyclone, if you guys don't recall, is the Festool Cyclone that comes in a sustainer. I have a review on that. I don't know if you want to grab that link, Nicole. Do you want me to text it to you?
Sure. What
it's a CT Cyclone review. Here, I'll text it to you.
Did you do it?
Here. Oh, I don't have it.
Did you do it?
Yeah. Go to the website.
Oh, okay.
Just type CT.
I know how to use search.
Yeah, you do. Let me Google that for you. I did a review on it. I didn't like the product. I sent it back. So my follow-up thoughts are, unless they change something, it's still not a good product for me. The CT Cyclone really starved, the unit for air. It cut down the air movement in the hose so much that it became so much less effective. And the point being, there are other cyclones that do not cut off your air, CFMs, right? It's actually not going to do that as drastically. So I didn't need that form factor, though it would have been nice. To me, air movement was more important than the form factor, so that's why it was an absolute thumbs down for me. And again, unless they've changed something, it's my recommendation is not buy it unless you absolutely need that form factor and you want that sort of Festool sustainer lock-in setup, which is a legit thing. Some people may want that for a good reason.
So I just want to say thank you to Craig Chagrin Hammond, S Tom 3728, Peter, I'm saying names wrong, I'm sure, Valkaz, William McKim. If you had a question, William, drop it in the chat.
Drop it in there, yo.
Drop it like it's hot. Bill Ockert, and then of course Jim, Pat Severs, Andrew Dennis, and Jesus.
Okay.
Thank you so much for those super chats. You covered my costs for the mass.
There you go.
So I appreciate it. Joann's is my fabric store of choice.
Mine too.
We do go there. So when he's working on the seat for the hang chair.
Yes.
And that's where we get the foam.
The foam, baby.
It was so cute. I took him into my store, and he's like, so where do we go? So we went back in the back corner, and you're like, should I get this one? And what do we do now? Oh, we go to this counter.
That was cute.
It was cute. Okay. It would be like you taking me to your lumber store and like showing me around and showing me how to buy the wood.
Sure.
So it was just really, it was actually fun for me to show you how to
cook in the hen house. All right. If you need a wider board, this is Corey's second question. If you need a wider board, you glue up a panel. What do you do if you need a longer board? Go buy a longer board. There are very few times if I need a longer board that I'm going to come up with a solution to lengthen the board manually. I will usually go out and just get a longer board. There are ways you could end join boards. If you ever look at, certain flooring things, I mean, we're used to seeing joints like that. Let's say you're doing a big long workbench. Well, sometimes you may have no choice but to butt those things up against each other, and they're not going anywhere, right? You just happen to have a cross-grain joint to look at. But when it comes to furniture and other pieces like that, I really try my best never to have to do an end-to-end joint like that. But, biscuits, dowels, any kind of joinery that will stop them from moving past one another, keeping them in line is probably going to be just fine for that. There are more, fancy ways. There's router bits and things that you can do to allow them to turn into like finger joints or something. But I would rather just keep the material that's too short for something else and then go get a board that's actually long enough to do the job.
Josh, thank you so much for grabbing William's question for me. He wants to know, I know you think torsion boxes are overkill, but if you were forced to build one, what do you think the minimum thickness of the top should be?
I didn't know the answer to this question when I did think they were necessary. I built my torsion box based off of David Mark's design.
Yeah.
The newer torsion box that I built afterwards, I thinned it down a little bit because what I had, speculated on is that it doesn't need to be like a full 4 inches thick to have the stability, right? So I wanted something that was a little bit more reasonable and thinner. And I haven't had any problems with it. So how thin can you go before you no longer get the benefit of, the structure of the torsion box, that interior structure? I don't know. At what point does it start to sag under its own weight and not support itself? I have no idea. That's like a structural engineer question. So if anyone else has an answer to that, let us know. I think as you go smaller, you also want to, maybe get your materials to be lighter as well. The lighter the materials are, the less weight that this thing has to endure. So maybe look for that ultralight MDF if you're going to use it. Big difference between an ultralight MDF and standard MDF. So that might be something to look into, but I'm sure there's math and there's all kinds of things that could be done to tell us this answer, but I don't know. Nicole, I don't know.
You don't know.
I just don't know. I keep kicking that thing.
Kicking.
I only have 3 more questions. Chris Calner. For where to place the Powermatic the air filter in the shop, aside from the obvious. I'll have a few split units. Dang this audio BS. I'm gonna contact those people at Ecamm and be like, listen, you jerks. This crap's not working.
They're probably working remotely.
We had an audio flub. And now is actually, what sucks is now is not the time to deal with tech service and things like that, because everyone's short-staffed. So anyway, he wants to know where to put the air filter. And he says, do you find having it on the ceiling does a good job versus just having it on the floor, getting the dust as it settles? Not sure if you've experimented with the Dylos monitoring or not. So here's the thing. When I first got a test unit, the remote didn't work, right? Powermatic sent it to me and I'm like, it's a great unit, but I need this remote if I'm going to mount this on the ceiling. Unfortunately, we couldn't fix it, so they sent me a second unit, and then I think everybody just got busy and forgot that I had 2.
Yeah.
But now they know they're going to be like, can you give that second one back? So I have 2 of them, and I put one on the ceiling and one by my bench on the floor. So that is how I've been running these things, Chris. I think that's a tough question because it is so valuable to catch the stuff before it becomes airborne. But generally, that's only going to work. I mean, you don't really want to have to move this thing constantly. So I've got mine near the workbench. If I'm hand sanding or something, that's when I want to catch the dust so it doesn't escape. It works great right there. I know Joseph Mensch has one. He uses his by the lathe, and he finds that to be a good place. But if you generally want to just clean the shop air and you're producing a little bit of dust here, a little bit of dust there, the ceiling mounted is, I think, the way to go. And as far as mounting and location, same thing applies. I think there's articles and stuff and instructions tell you, you kind of want these things to be mounted in a way that it creates a circular pattern around the room. So you want to be near a wall, right? And then you want to make sure it's going in a direction that pulls the dust in and then blows clean air out and hopefully creates some kind of a circular pattern.
I love how Italian you are with your...
I'm giving people a visual of what a circle looks like, Nicole. And I'm doing it horizontally so they can't even appreciate the circle pattern that I'm creating.
And if you're listening to this, you're like, what is Mark doing? He's just very handsy,
Yeah.
I love that somebody on one of your YouTube videos that you just released was like, "You're very handsy."
Someone gave me crap about. Well, he lumped us all YouTubers. Yeah. You know, we're all YouTubers. He lumped us all into one group, and he's like, "I can't stand how these YouTubers are using their hands and over-exaggerated." And I'm like, some of us just do it because that's how we talk when we're excited about something. Yeah. Like, if this bothers you, the problem is you. Yeah. And I get it. There are people who use their hands just too much, Nicole. Too much hands. But it's also, to me, when I see someone speaking with their hands, that says to me passion.
Passion.
Right? Passion. It also says New Jersey to me. Okay. Somebody said it sounded like a source switch, and you are correct. That is exactly what's happening with the audio. It's on its own, like there's a ghost in the machine switching my audio source. That's the problem.
It's a little gremlin going.
It switches back to the MacBook audio and then back to the mixer.
Do you want to try my mixer?
No, I just want to throw this stuff in the garbage. That's what I want to do at this point.
That's not going to happen.
Okay.
So.
It seems to happen more when GarageBand is also recording from the same source. Okay, let's do thingy here.
Another question. What?
Let's see. I've got two more. Nick Silva says, maybe you've answered this elsewhere, but where do you buy your supply of Osmo? I can't find it for sale locally anywhere. Stay healthy. I usually buy mine from Amazon.
Yep. Amazon.
Austin Hardwoods had recently started to carry it. So I can get it locally if I'm in a pinch, probably even a better price buying it locally. When you buy a lot of this stuff from Amazon, it's tough because I don't know who the vendor is necessarily, and sometimes the pricing, they really mark it up quite a bit, which sucks.
Well,
I think it's getting better now.
Amazon is not taking inventory from any third-party vendors anymore.
Oh.
So they're focusing on, groceries and, sanitizers and all that stuff. Yeah. So stuff is going to start dwindling on Amazon soon, if not already.
Well, either way, Osmo is on Amazon. You could find it there. And I think it's been there long enough or it's matured enough and there's enough vendors that the pricing is stabilizing.
And not to be confused with Osmo, the kids game, which, by the way, if you have kids at home and you have an iPad or an Android device, Osmo is amazing for kids. They have like math and Ava's been drawing like crazy.
The way you pronounce that sounded like you said meth.
Math.
You didn't. It didn't sound like math. I thought you said meth. They've got meth. They've got PCP. They've got cocaine. Anything your kid could want. All right. Let's go.
So anyway,
I got one more question.
I have Osmo in our Friday Live section
they got meth. Yeah, go ahead.
Of our store. So if you go to amazon.com/shop/thewoodwhisperer, you'll see some cans of Osmo.
Yeah. All right. Joshua Fink. From here on, everything will be questions from the chat.
Oh my God, making me laugh, cry.
I have a sawmill, and last year cut down a wonderful walnut tree. I like the sapwood corresponding with the heartwood. Question is, do you think over time that the dark will bleed into the lighter color wood? I don't use stain, only natural finishes, if that helps. No, I don't think it's going to be a problem. I've got pieces that have walnut sapwood in it, and things soften over time. I find that the sapwood gets maybe a little more mellow, especially once it has finish applied, and then the walnut tends to lighten if it's exposed, and you get like sun exposure. It tends to lighten over time. So the two kind of meet in the middle a little bit, but you're not going to really see bleeding in the sense of like putting Paduke against maple. It doesn't work that way. You're not going to really get a bleed over. So I wouldn't
spinning
worry
wheel
about
of death over the video feed? Oh no.
Is there?
Refresh it, Chris.
I see no problems on my end, so let's continue.
Okay, sorry.
What else we got? Questions are all up to you now.
Chris did ask, he wants to know how he could send you a question with more detail on a design that he's doing. If you're a member of the guild, which you should be, because it's awesome.
Why ain't you?
You can go into the support feature underneath your account and it says support, and you can email Mark directly about a guild project
or Matt.
Matt,
both me or Matt.
You can bug Matt too. But it's really any kind of support. So Mark receives a lot of email now, so we've that's how we filter it over. So
and Because Mark is such a big deal, we've started to refer to Mark in the third person.
You can. I'm just calling you by your name.
This guy over here.
This guy over here.
You know, sometimes I get questions. Here's the. I'm going to give you the hierarchy, and a lot of this just is my attention span, where I'm spending my time. The Guild gets top treatment. I answer questions there first. Obviously, Friday Live. I answer questions, or I'm sorry, the Woodworking Morning Show. I answer questions here through the live chat, as you're doing right now. If you want a more detailed thing, you could hit me up just through our contact form. Sometimes if it's a really important question, something urgent, my mom gets those contact form emails.
I get them too.
And Nicole gets some of them because she gets the marketing.
And I go, you got me. I can't really answer your question.
Sometimes those emails might make it to me. But let me tell you, people do not hesitate to send me detailed, difficult questions via direct message on Twitter and Instagram. And I seriously do try. I mean, it's a very rare occasion that I'm so inundated that I don't answer. I do try to answer, but it might be a quick answer because like typing long answers like that is tough. So that's kind of the hierarchy. That said, if you happen to know my email address, because I put it in my early shows, remember when we used to do that?
Remember you put my email?
Remember when I put your email in one of our videos?
Like the first one. Like,
got any problems? Email Nicole. So we used to put our email at the end of the videos, right? And mention it frequently. Yeah. So my email's out there. If you email me through that, it will come into my inbox, but it will be the lowest priority of things in my inbox. And I will eventually get to it, and there's a good chance I'll answer.
Simplify Dellis 354, I think I said that right. Can we expect more projects we can do with our kids in the near future?
Maybe.
I have a bunch of requests.
We've got some ideas. Yep. We've got some things. This is a long haul, right? I mean, from what we're seeing, what's going on. This is why we talked about doing daily morning shows. I backed that off and said, no, I'd like to continue this. I want to, do the show more often, but we may not be looking at days here. We're looking at months potentially. So let's do 2 shows a week, right? So same thing with these projects. I did quickly bust out the Catapult Trebuchet project, and I will probably do a follow-up, but I actually have a couple other things I need to do right now.
Right.
But yes, I do plan to do some more of those because it was super fun. It was well received. Yeah. People seem to enjoy it.
Well, and my whole thing is I want to give people, parents at home and kids at home, something they can build, sort of. It's probably going to be more of the parent, but the idea is that then they have something to play with after. Yeah. So the idea.
Sure.
We have a bunch of ideas.
We got some ideas.
So
you know what else might happen? People who might have been excited about the beginning woodworking course that we're going to be building, that idea is coming to fruition a lot faster now.
I'm going to be making some furniture.
Don't get too excited because you might not. Think about it. If you're out here now, especially now, the kids are home.
Yeah, but your mom might be here by then.
Maybe.
Maybe
not.
Yeah.
We'll see.
We'll see.
Mama's all the way in Jersey.
Argo Tungsten said, thanks for the laughs this morning. Thank you. And then Timothy Harris said, for the technology fun.
Apparently there's other sound gremlins. Someone's saying when I move around a lot, it's cutting out.
Oh, interesting. Don't move.
Guys, I don't know what to tell you. You know what I'm ready to do? I'm ready to go back to this. Yeah. This is going to be the new live show, just like this. Because you know what? This will work.
Yeah.
It's all this other crap when we try to make the show as good as it can be that we wind up having these gremlins.
So I just wanted to say to Jesus that my thoughts are going out to you. His having all my family back in Spain, so he's in Spain, except my American wife, and some relatives studying in Italy. I can say it's time to get hysterical and do more than necessary.
Yeah,
so
that is a serious bummer. I don't want people being hysterical. We need to be calm and rational, but we need to be prepared. Okay, our kids are knocking at the door. I think we'll stop the show.
We're gonna
do an after show.
Oh, I gotta pick the winner.
Pick a winner.
Pick a winner from so the folks that have submitted questions over on Patreon. I basically just do a random.org number counter, and my winner is
winner chicken dinner. Number 12.
Nick Silva.
Oh, Nick.
Nick. We talked through email, so just shoot me an email. Let me know which project you want.
Yeah. sound just gets loud every now and then.
The kids are on the door knocking right now.
Someone just thumbed down after their name wasn't called as the winner.
Oh, bummer. I'm sorry.
It's just, I don't think that's why. I just think that's the timing that it made me giggle.
Let me put a link. If you are a Patreon supporter at any level, you can come over. And the after show is just more of a chance to get your questions highlighted. Since it's a smaller group, we can have ask us anything type questions.
AMA, baby. Don't ask us about audio.
Yeah.
You don't know anything.
We'll figure that out. So
I'm going to reboot everything before the after show.
Oh, are you?
Yeah, so we are going to do an after show as soon as we stop here. Folks who are Patreon supporters can see that. The link is in the Patreon feed if you want to actually watch the show.
I'm going to put the link in this YouTube chat feed too.
I'm going to go break some knuckles in there.
What the kids want.
Someone's knocking on the door.
I think it's probably Ava.
Yeah.
She wanted chips. Mom, can I get chips? Sure.
Matt says, surprising there's only 5 thumbs down after the show we had today. Matt, you and me both, man. Yeah. I'm also surprised. Thanks for enduring the last hour. This was a tough one.
It's going to be weird.
This was a tough one on all fronts.
It's okay. It's going to get weirder. So
yeah,
we're in this together. And he's making me a tiny little library for the kids in the neighborhood.
Yep, my to-do list is
like,
expanding.
Can you do this? Can you do this?
It's expanding by the minute. Go make some masks, Nicole.
I'm going to go make some masks.
All right, thank you for watching, everybody. Have a wonderful weekend. And if all goes well and if the technology holds up, you'll see us possibly again on Tuesday doing another show.
Tuesday.
And I don't think we're going to necessarily do after shows.
No, we're just going to do a show.
We'll do like an abbreviated show as the second show for that day. Okay? All right. Have a wonderful day, everyone.
Love ya.
Toodles.
Bye. Stay safe.